Welcome back to Visa Pathway UK, your trusted source for global immigration updates that matter. Today, we bring you breaking news from across the Atlantic, and it's a shocker. The United States has slashed visa validity for 4 major African nations. Countries that once enjoyed 5-year, multiple-entry visas are now being restricted to just 3 months and only single entry. That's right, we're talking about Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, and Cameroon. And if you're from one of these countries or planning to travel to the US soon, this directly affects you. So what's going on? Why now? And most importantly, what should you do if you're affected? Let's break it all down. All right, everyone, grab your notebooks because this is big news you can't afford to miss. On July 8, 2025, the US State Department made a move that's sending shockwaves across Africa. Without much warning, they changed the rules for getting a US visa if you're from Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, or Ethiopia. And let me tell you, the changes are dramatic. Here's what just happened. The super handy long-term visas, some lasting up to 5 years, are out. Now, if you're applying for a US visa from one of these countries, the best you can get is a 3-month visa. That's right, just 90 days. And there's more. It's only good for a single entry. So if you leave the US, you'll need to apply all over again for another trip. Let's break down which visas are affected. This new rule hits all the popular categories. B1/B2 visas, for business trips or vacations. F1 visas, for students dreaming of studying in the US. J1 visas, for cultural exchange participants. H1B, M1O visas. And even more categories for workers and trainees. So, what does this mean for you? Basically, instead of getting a 2-year or even a 5-year visa, you'll now have to plan your trip for just 3 months. No more hopping in and out of the US on one visa. Every visit means a new application, more paperwork, and more waiting. Stick around because up next we'll get into exactly who these changes are hitting the hardest and what you need to know if you're planning a trip to the US soon. Don't go anywhere. This update could change the way you travel. All right, let's break it down country by country. Because if you're from Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, or Cameroon, this new visa policy is really going to change things for you. First up, Nigeria. Folks, if you're Nigerian, you probably remember those sweet 5-year multiple-entry visas. Well, not anymore. Now you're looking at just 3 months and only 1 trip in and out. Once you leave, you have to start the whole application process again. No more quick visits or surprise trips to see family or do business. Ghana, you're up next. Ghanaians used to enjoy the same long-term travel perks, up to 5 years on a business or tourist visa. But as of July 8, 2025, it's 90 days or bust. In and out, one time only. After that, back to the paperwork. Ethiopia, don't think you're left out. Before, Ethiopian travelers could score visas lasting up to 2 years. Now, just like everyone else on this list, you're limited to 3 months. That's a big change for students, families, and business people alike. And Cameroon, listen up. Cameroonians previously got 1-year visas, but starting July 8th, you're in the same boat. 3 months, single entry, and that's it. Want to visit again? You'll need to reapply. Now, this only applies to visas issued after July 8, 2025. So if you still have a visa from before that date, good news. It's still valid until it expires. But anything new? The 3-month 1-entry rule is in full force. So what does this all mean? Travel is going to get a lot more complicated if you're from these countries. More forms, more fees, more waiting. If you're planning a trip or dreaming of studying in the US, you need to know about these changes and plan ahead. Stay tuned. Because next up, we'll talk about why the US made this dramatic change and what it means for travelers everywhere. Don't click away. This is info you can't afford to miss. All right, let's get right into it. Why is the US suddenly changing its visa rules for these countries? What's going on behind the scenes? Well, here's the deal. The US says it's all about something called visa reciprocity. What does that mean? Basically, it's a way of saying, if your country gives American visitors a short visa, then Americans will give your citizens a short visa too. It's kind of like treat others the way you want to be treated, but with passports. But that's not the only reason. There are some serious concerns the US government is talking about. Let's break them down. High overstay rates. Too many people are staying in the US after their visas expire, especially students and tourists. That's a big red flag for immigration officials. Not enough help with deportations. The US wants countries to cooperate when it comes to sending back people who overstay, but some governments aren't making it easy. Document security. The U.S. thinks there are problems with how documents and IDs are handled, which could make things less safe. National security. With everything happening in the world, the US is putting security first and tightening up the rules. And guess what? It's not just Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Ethiopia. The US is actually putting pressure on more than 36 countries around the globe to tighten their visa policies and immigration rules. So, these new changes aren't just random, they're part of a much bigger push to get tough on overstays and make sure countries are playing fair. Coming up next, we'll dive into how the affected countries are reacting and what this means for travelers like you. Don't go anywhere. This is super important info if you ever plan to visit or study in America. All right, let's get into the real drama. How are these countries reacting to the big US visa rule shakeup? First up, Nigeria. Their government is not happy, and honestly, who can blame them? They've called the new visa rules unfair and unexpected. Nigeria's foreign ministry is already having serious talks with US diplomats, hoping to get things back to normal. And here's an interesting fact. Nigeria doesn't make it this tough for Americans coming the other way. So, yeah, there's some tension. Now let's check in with Ghana. The government there moved fast. A spokesperson admitted, okay, yes, some of our students are overstaying their visas, but we're working on fixing it. Ghana's leaders say these strict rules might just be temporary. And guess what? The US has apparently given Ghana just 60 days to make things better, or even tougher travel bans could be on the way. Talk about pressure. What about Cameroon and Ethiopia? So far, we haven't heard anything official from their governments. But the people? They're already speaking out, on social media, in community groups, you name it. Confusion, frustration, a lot of questions with very few answers. And let's not forget, this isn't just a political story. Real people are getting caught in the middle. Students who just want to study, families trying to celebrate together, business travelers hoping to build partnerships, all facing new uncertainty and obstacles. So, how will these countries respond in the coming weeks? Will the US reconsider its decision? We'll be watching closely, so stick around for all the updates. Up next, we'll break down exactly what these changes mean if you want to travel, study, or do business in America. Don't go anywhere. This info could save you a major headache. This change means big disruptions. You can now only enter the US once per visa. No multiple trips. If you travel home during studies or a business program, you'll need to apply for a new visa every time. It will also mean more interviews, more fees, and more waiting. For students, this could become a logistical nightmare. Imagine starting university in the US, going home for a family emergency, and then being stuck reapplying just to get back in. And for businesses, this cuts off the flow of repeat travel, hurting partnerships, conferences, and trade events. If you're from any of these 4 countries, here's what you should do. Check your visa issue date. If it was before July 8th, it still works as normal. Only apply for a visa if your travel is within 3 months of your appointment. Do not overstay, even by a few days. It will hurt your future applications badly. For students, speak to your school's designated officer, DSO, or your sponsor. They might help you secure re-entry or file advance paperwork. Keep all proof of travel, tickets, visa stamps, departure cards. You may need to show you complied with US exit requirements. Employers, sponsors, and advisors, please inform applicants about this shift immediately. There's still a chance that these rules might change again. Ghana is actively negotiating, and if they meet the US requirements, the 5-year visa might come back. Nigeria is also pushing through diplomatic channels. But the US is firm on its conditions: reciprocity, low overstay rates, and deportation cooperation. For now, we recommend planning with the 3-month single-entry rule in mind. Don't count on a sudden reversal. This is a major update that will affect thousands of African travelers every month. If you're planning to study, work, or visit the US, don't make assumptions based on old visa rules. Check everything, plan early, and avoid mistakes that could cost you future entry. Have questions or personal experiences to share? Drop them in the comments below. We read and respond to every single one. Subscribe to Visa Pathway UK. We'll keep you updated with every visa rule change from the US to the UK and beyond. Disclaimer: this video is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal or immigration advice. Always check the official US Embassy website or consult with a qualified immigration advisor before making visa or travel decisions.